You are now watching On Point, a news and public affairs show from California State University, Northridge.
Welcome to CSUN On Point. I'm your host, Jess Brumana. Sustainability is one of the most pressing global challenges of our time. Every day, the push towards a more sustainable future becomes more complex and urgent. To help us understand the nuances of this very broad subject, we're joined by Dr. Sheila Steinberg, Director for the Institute of Sustainability here at Cal State Northridge. She's also a professor of Geography and Environmental Studies. Dr. Steinberg, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Jess.
Sitting next to her is Jenyu Lee, a graduate student getting her master's in sustainability. She's an international student from Taiwan and plans to use her background in marketing to change the way that issues in sustainability are communicated. Jenyu, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation, Jess.
All right, before we get into more of the technical kind of questions, I wanted to ask, what are your backgrounds and how did they lead you into sustainability? We'll start with you, Dr. Steinberg.
Sure. So when I was an undergraduate student at UC Santa Barbara, I was a double major in communication studies and environmental studies. So I've always had this interest in people and nature. And then I went to UC Berkeley in the forestry department, got a master's of science, studied environmental protests, but I got a wildland resource science degree. And then I went to the United States Peace Corps for about 3 years in Guatemala, and I planted trees. I did watershed management. Then after that, I came back and got a PhD in rural sociology, but really, again, looking at people and environment. Then I went into teaching.
So very much on the human side of sustainability.
That's right, because people are really where it's at. People interact with the environment. So many cultures talk about they don't see themselves as separate from the environment. So that really appeals to me, that sort of more East Asian view. A lot of indigenous populations have that too, that we're one with the environment. So I believe that.
Yeah. And Jenyu?
Oh, actually, my bachelor degree is applied English, but I usually did something that is not related to my major. So my internship is in farmer market, and we try to do some sustainable agriculture, and we educate the farmers how to do it and also educate the customers. And then I started my career as the marketing specialist for 8 to 9 years. And during this, I have not only searched for the sustainable product design, so we include the life cycle analysis of the product, and we also have a lot of activities that we try to make the connection for the society and make the benefit for the poor family. So this is also the reason why it led me to consider like what I can do to make the benefit and also make some good impact to the society, not only the environment, and it also led me to CSUN. Yes.
Yeah. And coming from Taiwan, that's a big move.
Yeah, it is.
What led you to CSUN specifically?
Oh, before I came here, I actually have like the meeting with the Dr. Bao before. We have the virtual meeting. So when I was in Taiwan, I focused a lot on the corporate sustainability and academic sustainability, but I want more is practical. Like I can do something, and that is really surprised myself. So I talked to Dr. Bao a lot of times, and then I choose here to be CSUN. Yes, when I made the application, there's also like Oregon or different offered a scholarship, but I was like, I didn't see CSUN is the right choice for me. Yeah, and so far, I appreciate I made the choice. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. So now for our first real question, it's a little silly, but humor me. What exactly is sustainability? Like, what does it mean for something to be sustainable?
Yeah, so there's so many definitions out there about sustainability. There's really not one definition. There's many. I mean, I just had this discussion today with some other center directors, and one of my favorite ones that I heard from people was being able to look at that balance between people and nature and to have some resiliency, economic, social, etc., and be able to continue forward. So you're using natural resources. You're in balance with the environment, but you're not overusing the resources. So it's finding that kind of natural balance and having people have healthy and clean environments to live in as well.
Jenyu, how would you define it?
This is the first question of my first class here Yes, and we discussed it about that. And I totally agree with Dr. Steinberg said. We have to make a lot of balance on it. But for me, sustainability is more like a concept, a perspective is how you live your life, how you make the decision. And the most important thing is, do you aware the responsibility or do you aware the consequence that you made? And it will not only interfere yourself, but also the society, the people, and the environment. Yes.
How would you say that perspectives on, this is for Jenyu, differ internationally in different countries?
Perspective internationally about sustainability?
Yeah, like in America versus Europe or in your own home country.
Okay, so I just did my research on the waste management and I compare the Germany policies and America policies and also the Asia policies. So I found it's a lot of different, I would say, in most Asia country, people are more disciplined. So, and people are more like, if I educate you to do this and you follow the way. But for the European and for the America, there are a lot of innovation, but there are also a lot of freedom because people was like, oh, then I can choose, I don't want to do this one, and I will choose to do another one. And sometimes it's not do whatever you want. Sometimes it's you have to think through about it and you know you have to make the decision. So I would say culturally it's totally different. And for like Germany, they put the cycle analysis and the circular economy as one of their philosophy. So right now, I think California and America is ongoing that. We are going to there, but we are on the way to there. Yes.
You know, speaking of California specifically, I know in 2026 the plastic bag ban is going to be, you know, reiterated this time around.
Yes.
Dr. Steinberg, what's your take on that? It failed the first time. What do you think is going to be different this time?
I mean, I think our economy is worse now. So anything that can save I don't think people like paying for bags when they go to the grocery store. And I recently moved up here from Orange County, and we were paying 10 cents a bag down there. I noticed up here it seemed a little, in Burbank, it seemed a little bit different. I don't know that they were charging for bags or not, but I think a lot of people are driven by the economy right now, and it's not looking great. So anything that I think can save people money will probably be the choice that they go by. You notice a lot of people bring their own bags, like when they go to Trader Joe's or they go to Ralph's or wherever, or they go to the farmer's market, they're carrying their bags with them. So I think that's a common practice amongst people who are really super conscious about sustainability and environmentalism. But that's pretty much a minority of folks. The majority they go to the store.
How do you how do you think is the best method to build that habit in people that aren't currently, you know, bringing their own bags, because they'll need to soon?
Yeah, I mean, I think an economic incentive is great. Like maybe you get a discount at the store. Like for all the bags you bring, you get like a 10-cent or 20-cent discount. I think people would start doing that if that was really obvious to them and, you know, share it ahead of time.
I think Target's already doing that. I think it's 5 cents for each bag you bring, and it's up to 5.
And 5 cents is pretty negligible, but if they bumped it up to like a quarter,
Big quarter.
yeah.
It all adds up.
It all adds up, yep.
Another question when it comes to reusable bags is that there's still an environmental cost to producing them. How do you balance, maybe Jenny, you can take this one. How do you balance, you know, the production effect of making the bags versus, you know, using them consistently?
Oh, this is really a great question. It will connect to the product design phase, and you know, in the circular economy, I will say it again, the product design will be the important part because we have to consider the cost of the production, the benefit, and we have to also consider about the package, what you have mentioned. So I would say it's really hard to get the balance, but you have to a positive attitude for the in the long term. Like, oh, we encourage you to do this one because if you reuse the bag, then you can save like how much money. And if I offer you another option is like a sustainable bag, or I use the sustainable material to make a new bag, then it will compost like in 45 days or so. So everything is about marketing. You have to let people know what's the benefit you can do it. Yes.
Dr. Steinberg, when it comes to like the college student population, what are other habits that you can, encourage people our age to do?
Well, I think that students by nature are kind of sustainably oriented because they're economically conscious. And so I'm kind of framing sustainability these days a lot in terms of economics, because I think that's often a driver for behavior, along with, I think your generation of people is very committed to making the world a better place. So I think environment, healthy environments is on the mind of a lot of folks. So I think I like listening to students. I like talking to my students. I like finding out, what is important to them before I'm trying to go ahead and tell them what they should do. So instead of taking a prescriptive approach of, well, you should do this, you should recycle like that, you should, take your bags to the grocery store. I like to more listen and find out these days, what are students interested in? Is it music? Is it art? Is it culture? Is it immigration? Is it what's happening internationally or domestically? And from there, then build a conversation going forward about the environment and people. So I think it's kind of like, for me, it's more about meeting students where they are in that discussion, and then exploring what could be the great, innovation on that topic.
I'm really looking forward to talking a little bit more about like CSUN specifically, especially because we have two great perspectives within CSUN. But for the meantime, we're going to take a little break. Right ahead, we're going to go explore the CSUN Community Garden and see how the facilities are doing their part to stay sustainable for their community. You're watching CSUN On Point. We'll be right back.
People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike and you didn't? I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Welcome back to CSUN On Point. We're here with our guest, Dr. Steinberg, the Director for the Institute of Sustainability here at CSUN, and Jenyu, a master's student in the Masters of Sustainability program. Agriculture is one of the biggest industries in the world. Our reporter, Sebastian Gontes, went to the CSUN Food Garden to explore how food can be grown sustainably.
Reducing the carbon footprint of a campus with over 30,000 students is no easy task. The Institute of Sustainability at California State University Northridge plants their feet in the ground and takes this issue head on.
The CSUN Food Garden's mission started a little over a decade ago, and it is to address two main aspects. Number one is food insecurity. How can we provide top quality food that's accessible to all our students, staff, and faculty? And the second aspect of that question is how can we do that but in a sustainable fashion?
Sustainability is about preserving resources and protecting the environment so future generations can thrive. In a world facing climate change and declining natural resources, it's essential for long-term well-being.
The food garden provides organic and sustainably grown produce. While you can grow organic produce, it's one step up to grow sustainable produce. By that I mean we have our own system to create our own soil supplement and soil fertilizers. We have food waste given to us by campus, as well as food waste and garden scraps from just working here in the garden that we put into the compost bin. That compost bin breaks down and becomes soil amendment so that we can continue to grow all the fruits and vegetables here at the garden. And that gives us a nice cyclical, healthy cycle of waste goes back into nourishment for both us and for the plants and for the soil itself.
With the food garden being so accessible to so many CSUN students, sustainability is all about accessibility. Reporting from Northridge, Sebastian Gontes, On Point.
Sustainability is accessibility. I like that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the food pantry and like what, and also the other things that the Sustainability Center is doing?
Sure. You know, we are really trying to carry forth this message that you just said, that sustainability is accessibility, that it's making food accessible. We grow food in our garden as well as in our hydroponic freight farm, and we donate that food that we get to the food pantry on campus that feeds hungry students, people who are in need. We also use it's about accessibility for an experience in nature as well. So we have an upcoming event called Jam in the Garden, and that is we're having artists from the Vove music label. CSUN has a music label, but not everybody knows that. You guys know. But we're trying to bring together music, art, and culture in the garden and give people a relaxation time with that music. So accessibility on a number of levels for food justice, for environmental justice, to learn about how it is to be in a healthy environment and what they can do to achieve that in their own communities and in the CSUN community.
Yeah. Jenyu, as a master's student in sustainability, how often do you engage with the center in your program?
Okay, so it probably would be like every week. Yeah, every week. And I also want to mention, like, we not only have the food pantry, we also have the Metabytes app, which I notice more and more people use it. And the Metabytes is like, after the event, we have some leftovers, and then you can just pop up for the Metabytes. And a lot of students will just receive the information and they will just run to you. So this is one of the way that we try to reduce the food insecurity in CSUN. Yes, and not only the food pantry, the Metabytes, but also the Women's Center, the Women Health Center, and they also provide like the free food for you.
So it's a system that we've created over time that is a way to bring resources and people closer together. So people can sign up for that, from different departments. And if they have like leftover catering, then it can get on the Metabytes food app and go to people who need food.
I'm imagining like students getting a notification, free food, and like running.
That's pretty much how it is. Yeah.
Yes, and the students here are really polite. People all wait in a line and just grab the food they want. They would not like grab more. No, they know they have to save for others.
Yeah, very generous students, very hospitable, community-oriented, I guess is the word.
Are there any other programs out of the Sustainability Center you'd like to mention or highlight?
Well, we have a special program called Sustainability Champions, which we're going to be expanding, but it's for students, staff, faculty to really bring them together. We have a cohort every year, and it meets monthly talking about different aspects of sustainability. We have a CSUN roadmap to sustainability that highlights 10 different focus areas, and each month we focus on a different area, provide education, fun, activities, outreach. We have one coming up on JEDI and sustainability because that's a very important component for CSUN as a university. We know our president is very supportive of that, and it's a very important part of the Institute as well.
Can you explain JEDI a little bit further for those who might not be familiar?
Sure. It's an acronym that stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And a lot of folks, when you bring that up, they go, well, what does that have to do with nature? But it has everything to do with the environment because some people live in a better environment. Poorer people often live in a more unhealthy environment. So it's about how do we bring equity to the places, the people and places who inhabit different environments around CSUN, and how do we honor the cultural practices of some of these different groups that are probably very sustainable by nature, recycling, using containers that already come to pack your lunch the next day, but they're not always stereotyped as like, oh, that's sustainable to reuse a bologna, container of lunch meat. Nobody would really say, oh, that's sustainable, but it is, so it's, or reusing bags, so in a lot of societies, cultural and immigrant societies, culture plays a big role in sort of thrift and how do we have a wise approach to using the resources and not overusing the resources and sharing the resources.
Yeah. To kind of go to a little bit of a different topic, the CSU system, has adopted their AI initiative. And, as many people may know, the AI is very strenuous on energy and, its impact to the environment. Maybe, Jenny, you can take this one. As a student, what's your opinion on, as a studying in sustainability, what's your take on that?
This is really controversial, I have to say, because I have read an article and it shows like when you use AI, like you lose how many bottles of water because the energy consumption. But I know like some of the people would say, we should just don't use AI anymore because you just consume more energy and you didn't like motivate yourself, or you are not getting smarter, or you lose your like self-doubt or like anything. But for myself perspective, I would think while the sustainability have to get a lot of progress right now, we need high technology to help us to do this, to find more solutions on this. So I still remember the first time when I was in Dr. Cyber's class, and you say it's okay for us to use the AI technology to do the brainstorming or to do a lot of things to help us finish our paper and the research, which I was like, yes, I totally agree with that. So this is really a controversial issue, but it depends on how you use the AI. And if you use the AI very often, I would not suggest that. But if you have a rundown and you have the knowledge how to train the robot to help you, then I would say you can find a perfect balance between the sustainability and the AI.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that the sustainability is about finding balance.
Yeah. And to me, I mean, this topic, I just gave a lecture on this. I just met with a bunch of librarians on this exact topic. And yes, Jenyu raises many good points, but on the other side of the coin, the CSU just made the AI technology that you would have to purchase available to all students. We have ChatGPT, we have Copilot. These are things when I taught at other private universities, students had to pay for. So I view AI as an equalizing force and factor. Even though it is using resources, it's equalizing the competitive nature of our students as they graduate and get out into the job market. Because it's really about, we need to teach our students how to use AI, how to harness it, how to think critically about it, because when they go out for jobs, they're going to be competing with students who know how to use it and ask the questions. And make AI work for you. Don't let it dominate you. You make it work for you. And we need students in that arena doing that. So I'm all for it, but again, as teachers, we need to come up with assignments and ways to approach it that are so that we know if I'm not against students using it, but don't use it to write your whole paper. Use it to brainstorm or to organize some of your thoughts. I think it's a great jumping off point when you're for exploration. Yeah.
When it comes to like the field of sustainability, like in the professional world, how would you use AI like in like your job?
Well, Jenyu comes out of a database-driven, I mean, I write books. I just had a brand new book come out called Climate Vulnerability and Health. I didn't use AI for any of that, but I mean, for doing press releases on it, yeah, I'm using the AI to help with that. And I feel like for communication purposes, it can really streamline your communication a lot. If you write something and then run it through that, it can give it back to you in a different format. Of course, always with critical thinking. What do you think, Jenyu, for like the data side of things?
I would say before you use the AI, you have to acquire the basic knowledge of the field. So you still have to get the education. If you don't know how to train a robot, you cannot get the data that you want. And even though you get the data, that's how I do. I already have the knowledge on how I want to do it. So I just put the instruction for the robot, and then they came up with the data. But the question is, the data, you have to check it by yourself.
You do. You have to ground truth it.
Exactly. So after you check it, sometimes, I would say, sometimes the AI will make the wrong data for you.
That's right.
And it happens. And it cannot be on the paper.
That's right.
When it comes to sustainability, like not just in relation to what AI says about it, how often are you combating like misinformation about sustainability?
Well, I think it's more, for me, I would say it's stereotypes. That everybody thinks that to be sustainable, you have to be nature, quote unquote, like wearing hemp or shells, or like I'm from the forests and I'm nature. But you know what? Our students at CSUN are sustainable by the very experience of how they live their lives, how they reuse things, how they maybe ride a bike to school or walk. Those are all sustainable activities. So I think it's broadening that view of what we consider as sustainable. I'm not going to sit there as the director of sustainability and judge someone like, did you put the recycling in the right hole, in the right bin? Because that's not productive. But looking at what are you doing and how can we work together to kind of be more environmental without that judgment. I came from Cal Poly Humboldt. It was full-on judgment up there, like, oh, you're not wearing Patagonia. Oh, you shopped at Old Navy. Oh, you ate at McDonald's. You're not environmental.
It's more like focusing on what someone's doing right rather than what they're doing wrong?
Exactly. Well said.
What's your take on that, Jenyu?
Oh, I would say the information part, it's all the connection, not only the student, but also the people who send out the information. Yes, as a marketing specialist, I know we always have the intention to send out the information to you. So if the people who send out that, they didn't acknowledge, they didn't aware that you're gonna lead to something, that it would be a problem. So I would say the students have to build their awareness about sustainability, but also the people who send out the information have the responsibility too. And I totally agree with Dr. Steinberg because we just read a paper. It's like you use the positive attitude to communicate with people is the long-term strategy instead of using the fear to say, oh, you should not do it, you should not do it. It's just like people would listen to it once or twice and then they will forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To jump to another topic, with the potential closure of the Department of Education, do you think any of the sustainability efforts here on campus will be affected by that?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I mean, I think there's closing the Department of Education is not a good thing because that's removing any form of coordination or organization that I believe our country needs. If we look at the same thing from almost like an environmental justice, a social justice issue, the South and their poorer areas that don't have very high levels of education, by removing the Department of Education, you're removing an ability to give everybody a fair shot at having the same level of education. Wealthy states they often have better schools in certain areas, right? Mm-hmm. So it's creating more inequity by removing that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I know that we're running a little low on time here, so I'm going to ask our final question.
Okay.
For those of us that are watching, what's like one habit that we can like go home tonight, start doing to be a bit more sustainable?
I would say walking. I would say doing as much walking as you can, riding a bike, riding a scooter. The more that micro mobility, right? A lot of times we just want to drive everywhere. We just want to drive everywhere. And people do need to, or take public transportation, right? So I think taking public transportation, easier said than done because it might take you twice or three times as long. But like I ride a scooter on campus and it's a scooter that I push with my legs, right? I could get one of those special fast ones, but I don't because I'm scared I'm going to crash and like kill myself. So I'm on the old fashioned one. I feel pretty good about that, and I walk everywhere as much as I can. So yeah, I would just say using those dos pies, those two legs to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, and Jenyu?
Recycling, please do recycle your trash. Like, I know, like sometimes we only like have 2 trash cans in the house, probably. So if you know it's going to landfill, then put in the landfill bin. And if you know, oh, it's a recycle, then do the recycle one. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Steinberg. Thank you, Jenyu, so much for being here and for sharing your insight. As we've discussed, sustainability isn't just a scientific issue. It's cultural, political, and at its very core, deeply human. And the path forward depends on collaboration at every level. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on CSUN On Point.